Anything and everything, I said anything and everything. La la la, join us to talk about anything and anything. Welcome back to another episode of Anything and Everything, Women of Color Catalyst. My name is Halima Sharif, and I'm host and producer. A little about me and the show. I'm the owner of HS Global Consulting, a woman minority-owned communications public relations consultancy. I've been in business for over 12 years. I'm an executive-level media, corporate, and public relations professional with over 30 years of global experience in multiple industry sectors. I have lived and worked abroad in the U.S. It's one of the places I've worked in is in Qatar. I have developed, managed, and executed a multitude of global communications brand campaigns. I've worked for corporations and organizations, including Virginia Tech, Virginia and Commonwealth University School of the Arts in Qatar, New York University, Thurgood Marshall College Fund, Young and Rubicon Global PR Firm, Burson Marsteller, US Bank, AstraZeneca, Black Entertainment Television, ABC News and Fox, Elevon, government officials at local and national levels, and the American Lung Association national headquarters, just to name a few. I started this online platform back in June of last year to pretty much bring attention to the beauty and diversity of humanity, to share that we all have a story to tell. Our last Women of Color Catalyst segment aired on Thursday, March 18th, where we had two amazing young female entrepreneurs, PJ's Coffee franchise owner and founder of 828 Enterprises, Brittany Simmons Willis, and vocalist owner of Beyond the Stage, Joelle Dyson. Prior to that, we aired live on October 22nd, 2020. During that time, we welcomed Working Mother Media's president, Suba Berry, global fashion design expert Sandra Wilkins, comedian actress Lunel, attorney and partner for Winston & Strawn, and now current chief of staff to First Lady Jill Biden, Julissa Reynosa, and director of diversity and inclusion for the House of Representatives, Kimba Hendricks. Today, in honor of Women's History Month, we have four young female artists from Brazil, Qatar, and Sudan. Adriana de Souza from Brazil, Hamida Issa from Qatar, Hiba El Jazuli, and Islam El Beite from Sudan. Welcome, ladies. I am so excited and so happy to have you on the show, especially considering we are all like, 6 or 7 hour different time zones. So I am grateful to have you all on here.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having me.
Definitely. So let me go into the official introduction of these amazing sisters. And let me tell y'all, when I say they are amazing, just wait and find out. Adriana de Souza is a Brazilian photographer currently based in Doha, Qatar. She received her BA degree in social sciences from the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. Years later, she shifted to photography as a way of self-liberation, research, and to further understand human interactions and emotions. Adriana has been selected by Adobe as a part of Adobe Rising Stars in 2019, featured in PH Museum mobile photography book, won second place, and was book cover for photos from the Arab world by Jolton. She also won third place in single image category on Lens Culture Journeys 2020. Her work has been exhibited in countries such as Brazil, Qatar, Russia, UAE, and United Kingdom. Adriana has two ongoing projects, I Am Not My Father, where she explores concepts of masculinity, and Kawia, which means strong, where she explores the presence and importance of women in various sports in Qatar. Once again, welcome, Adriana.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Indeed. Hamida Issa. Hamida Issa is a Qatari filmmaker, writer, and producer. She graduated with a BA in politics from University College London and an MA in global cinemas from SOAS, the School of Oriental and African Studies, specializing in Gulf film. Hamida has worked for the education team at the Doha Film Institute at its inception and in 2011 made her first short film, 15 Heartbeats, which premiered at the Doha Tribeca Film Festival. She has made many short films ever since, including video art and a music video, Gamar, from Palestinian band 47 Soul. She was the first Qatari woman in history to step foot onto Antarctica. You hear that? First woman. And she is currently editing her first feature length documentary, Places of the Soul, about her experience. Her work explores the themes of spirituality, identity, environmental sustainability, tradition, and intangible cultural heritage. Welcome, Hamida.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Oh, definitely. I'm honored to have all of you all here. Hiba El Jazuli is a singer, songwriter, keyboard player, and performer based in Khartoum, Sudan. She hopes to inspire young people to dream big and to be passionate. Hiba has always enjoyed mixing her music with different Sudanese traditional rhythm from the various parts of Sudan. Songwriting and turning her thoughts and ideas into music is and has been her ultimate passion since the age of 12. Hiba inspires to work with different young artists like photographers, videographers, producers, and musicians to create art. Hiba, welcome, my dear.
Thank you for this opportunity. Thanks.
Islam El Beiti. Islam is a renowned cultural curator, musician, and radio presenter. She has led and worked on several projects that have set the momentum for the entrepreneurial and cultural scene in Sudan and beyond. Islam has experiences that range from co founding the first Sudanese entrepreneurship and innovation network to facilitating the development of informal music education in Africa through the Global Music Association. Islam acts as cultural advisor and project manager for CEASE, which stands for Creative Education and Empowerment Zanzibar. Her work has been featured on NPR, Yamaha, CNN, Public Radio International, The Mosaic Rooms, Voice of America, 500 Words Magazine, and Action Music Women. Once again, welcome to these amazing women. So,
Thank
we
you,
need to
thank
get
you,
started.
thank you.
Listen, rock on, y'all. Rock on, stand on, and just keep it moving. Let's start with the first question, and I'm going to start with you, Islam, and then we'll work our way around. Question number one. I refer to you all in the promotional flyer as artists. Adriana is a photographer, Hamida is a filmmaker, Hiba is a vocalist, and Islam is a bassist. So at what point did you know you had an interest in the arts? Islam?
I don't really know, to be honest. I think it just somehow happened, right? I started playing a little bit of music. I started learning music, and then I think, yeah, over the years and with a lot of support from people around me, I just started feeling like maybe this is the thing that I want to be doing for the next couple of years, maybe my whole life. But I still don't know if I can call myself an artist because I don't really know what that really means and if I can completely relate to that because I don't exclusively work as a musician, but also a lot of my work revolves around developing the music industry and the cultural industry wherever I really go, but mainly in Sudan. So yeah, let's say it might have started when I was 3, and it could have started when I was 23. So I don't really know, but I'm glad it did.
I'm glad it did too. I think the world is glad it did as well. And just to address you, we all are artists. Whether we're musicians, photographers, fashion designers, PR people, you know, we are creative geniuses in our own spaces. So yes. Adriani?
Hi. So I don't know if you can hear a dog barking. I'm so sorry. But so yeah, I think since I was a little girl, my mom always said that I used to tell her that I wanted to be an artist. I didn't really know what that meant. So to be honest, until this day, I don't really know what it means to be an artist. But I always wanted to be a musician, to be honest, but I never really pursued. And 3 years ago, I started taking photographs because I just felt like I needed to share feelings and thoughts, and I didn't know how to share by talking or writing. So I found like a space through photography. I was about 3 years ago. And I think it's just the start because I want to experiment with many other forms of art. And yeah, so this is how it started. But I really believe that I always wanted. I was too insecure and too anxious, and I was always, if I wanted to do something, if it was here, I would do something else because it was easier to run away from what you want than being disappointed and maybe not reaching or maybe not being able to. But yeah, so I think it's never too late. So I'm kind of on this journey right now on trying to find out where I fit in this world.
Hello?
Halima, you're muted for us. We cannot hear you.
Oh, here I am. Calling Hamida, and I'm like, why can't she hear me? Hamida.
I believe that art and creativity is something we're born with since we were children. But the time that I realized that I wanted to get into filmmaking was when I was 21. I went to university as an 18-year-old who was really idealistic and had these dreams of wanting to change the world. And after studying politics, I realized that maybe I couldn't do it through that avenue. And I got an email about an ethnographic documentary filmmaking course at my university before graduation. And I took that course. And ever since then, I've been on this journey of filmmaking. And it's only later in life now that I realized that it started from childhood. It started from childhood because my mom, God bless her soul, always used to film everything my entire childhood. And she passed away when I was 13, and I inherited her tapes. And I always used to take the camera away from her. And I feel that it's her legacy that she handed down to me, and I carry on till this day. I carry her legacy on through my films.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Those are truly everlasting contributions that your mother left with you. Hiba?
Yeah, thank you. For me, I grew up in a house, in an artistic family and house. You know, my father is a painter, and my mom enjoys art. She sings and she likes to design clothes, and she both my parents made sure that we grew up in a house of art. But it was mainly visual art. Um, I can draw. All of my siblings are amazing drawers. Uh, but then we moved to Cairo, and then my mom signed us up in another workshop, an art workshop. Oh yeah, I said another workshop because my family had this initiative art workshop for children that I grew up in, you know. And then we went to Cairo, and my mom signed us in an art workshop where there were music as well. So that was something new for me, you know, to get into a music workshop. I was 9 years old, and it was in Al Sawi Culture Wheel. It's a place in Cairo. When I first walked in the music class and I saw a piano and I like touched the piano and played it, that was a moment that resonated with me, and I will never forget. You know that moment. I felt like, whoa, this is something that I want to do because I used to sing, you know, with my mom and stuff and at school, but like the piano, this instrument, and it was like a grand piano. So yeah, from that workshop, I knew that music is something that I'm really interested in and I'm passionate about. And through that workshop as well, I started writing like songs, you know. And yeah, from that time, I knew that this is something that I want to do. And I feel like us, you know, as human beings, you know, we change, and I feel like in this journey, there are like certain situations or events that happen that assure to me that this is the path that I want to take, and this is my career, you know. And like throughout the years, like the recent thing for me is I know that I want to do music because it makes me feel good, I express myself and all of that. But now when I receive like messages from like young girls and like young boys also, and they tell me how like my music feel makes them feel and how they feel inspired, and this is something that I never imagined that I would receive, like, or I could make this impact. It's very small, but it's to me it means a lot. So I feel like there will still happen, like stuff will happen, like throughout the years that will, assure to me that I want to continue to be an artist.
That's awesome. You ladies have some amazing, intros to your space. Every impact makes a difference, and exposure means a whole lot. A lot of times we say it's in our DNA, but it's also, your passion is it's what you're exposed to. So that's a blessing itself. Who were some of your influencers? Hamida, let's start with you.
Like I said, the first influencer and the major inspiration in my life is my mother.
Mhm.
And in many ways, she's present in a lot of my film work, whether it be the footage that she shot or the sensibility of her soul. So my mother is my main inspiration in life. And for me, I always find inspiration in the elders of my community. One of them is Rashid. She's a woman who lives in the desert, and she's the last Bedouin woman who lives in the desert off the grid. This kind of lifestyle is dying out. People have moved into the city, but she is the last one to actually live there and refuse to come into the city. And she has such important knowledge about intangible cultural heritage, about the herbs of the desert, the way we were, the stories of our past. So for me, I'm really inspired by the history of my people. And that's what informs a lot of my cinematic work.
Wow, you ladies are just touching me in ways you have no idea. You mentioned the elderly. That is so important that we look up to our ancestors and those before us because there's so much wisdom. And I'm looking at you lovely ladies now. There's so much wisdom and beauty in you. And it's expressed in your work. I think that's beautiful. Hiba.
Yeah, I think for me, same as Hamida, I'm all about family. Like my family is the foundation of me. I'm inspired by my family, by my dad, by my mom, and how they see uh, art and how they value art and being an artist, and they both taught me and my siblings that, like, if you're gonna be an artist, you're gonna be an artist, and it's not something that, because I don't want to generalize, but in our community, being an artist isn't taken as seriously. So that is something that it wasn't the case in my family. I was really inspired by that, and I learned a lot, and I'm inspired by some Sudanese musicians like Asim Al-Tayyib. He is well known like globally as well. I'm inspired by Noor Jairani. He's an amazing performer. And as when I was a teenager, I listened to lots of Beyonce. She was also one of my inspirations. Like, seeing someone so like fearless, it made me feel something. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. I'm inspired by a lot of old and young artists. They just keep coming at you in a special way. Adriani.
So, I to me, it all goes back to family again. But in my family, it wasn't something very direct, like, oh yeah, go follow your dreams, do this. It wasn't really like that. But I think that I get inspiration from everyone that I am in contact with. After this conversation, I am sure going to remember things that we've said to each other, and that thing is going to stay in the back of my mind. But with my family, I always admired so much my grandfather. He used to play the guitar in local parties, and my grandma used to say like all the ladies wanted him. He was amazing. He was such a good guitar player, and I thought that was so cool because he was expressing himself. And I never got to see that side of him. I just saw him as my grandfather. He was working. He paid for the bills, and that's it. I didn't see him perform, so I wanted to. And he just plays like for us at home, but I didn't get to see that side of him. So that was always something that I wish I could see. And two more people. One is my father, because I think we all ask ourselves if we can follow our dreams. And when you think, oh, can I work with what I want? But then everyone's telling you, no, you have to be practical. Is this going to pay your bills? Is this going to, allow you to buy food? But my father, he was a football player. And on those days that I think I cannot do this, I cannot do this, I just think of my father. Well, he was able to work with what he always wanted. He doesn't see himself as anything else other than a football player and now a coach. So that to me is always, I always remember, okay, my dad made it. So I think there is a chance for me as well whenever I want to do something that's so different than everyone else is doing. And the other person is my brother, who is 15 years old now. I am always shocked with the teenagers and the young people, because they just don't have any fear. They want to do something, they do it. He makes music, he posts it. He takes photos, he shares it. He makes videos at home. He doesn't care. It's like I see a lot of freedom on him. So I always think of these three, because also there are different ways. Like my grandfather, it was before social media. He was doing it just out of love. So there's no recognition in all of what he was doing. And then my brother, of course, he's young, he's starting now. But I think those three men, which I just thought about it now, they're three men. They're always, yeah, they're always in the back of my mind whenever I think about doing something that is different, that no one in my family has done before.
Wow, I think that's awesome. And it's nothing wrong with having men as mentors and influencers in our lives. I mean, they were part of our growth, you know? And I see family is very important to all of you. Islam.
Absolutely. I mean, I definitely, uh, if it wasn't for my family, my parents, I have four siblings, I have three sisters and a brother. If it wasn't for them, I definitely wouldn't be where I am. And the thing is, like, I grew up also in a house where my mom um, was a super incredible. She's a very cool woman. She's always pushing for, you got to do this, you got to do that. Don't let people tell you you can't. You have to do it. You're a stubborn girl. Islam. That's after you're gonna get what you want. And that's kind of the mindset that I grew up in as a child. And I'm the eldest, and in our society, being the eldest means there's a lot of like weight on your shoulders, and it was very toxic. And I only realized that obviously like later down the line. But so to say, of course, my inspiration driver, is my mom. It was her birthday yesterday.
Oh,
She Yeah, she's so cool, and I had a gig, so all of the band just played a song for her, and she was so happy. She's crying. So yeah, she definitely keeps me going, especially when it gets like really difficult. I also have a lot of my father as well, indirectly. I mean, I think he's always been the kind that never verbalized his encouragement, especially because I was doing something that was so bad, like being a musician, a Sudanese woman and a musician, and like looking the way that I do, blah blah blah. It was like very difficult for him to accept it, but he's always accepted it, but he never really verbalized it. But he would do these things like, "Oh my God, Dad, I really want to go to this conference, but I'm broke." And he's like, "Oh, another music conference." I'd be like, "Yeah." It's like, "Fine. How much do you want?" I'd be like, I knew that he didn't like 100% approve of what I was doing, but he was pushing me towards that. So that for me was very important. So both my parents, they inspire me a lot, and of course my partner Lawrence, he's also a trombone player. He's such a coolest guy ever, and
Oh,
he's also been yeah, my driving force. I think. Especially last year with the pandemic, I think I wouldn't have been able to have survived it creatively if it wasn't for him. And then Yeah, I think a bunch of Sudanese women, like Hiba, one of them, I'm always so inspired by her and like her resilience and the fact that she's always like pushing forward what she wants and the music that she believes in. Yeah, I'm inspired by a lot of Sudanese women and a lot of um, jazz artists as well. You know, from like especially from like the 40s and the 50s in the
Mhm.
U.S. You know, the New Orleans crazy folks, the New Yorkers, the guys who would like set the pace for how
Yeah.
what jazz is and you know where it's going. Yeah, I think I have a really long list of people who inspire me and keep me going. But I think in a nutshell, that's it.
Way to go, my hometown, New Orleans, you know. What is your mom's name?
My mom's name is Emil.
Happy birthday, Emin.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. So, on to the next question. So let's talk about the art scene, art community in your respective countries and your regions. You know, I love history. You know, the overall history as well as what is the current artist scene like right now. Let's start with you, Islam.
The scene here in so I'm in Zanzibar at the moment. I've been here
Yes.
for the last 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
and the scene here isn't the greatest. It's not. I'm not very excited about the music scene. I have a lot of really good friends who are really great musicians, but it's not like I don't feel driven to go out and play
Mm-hmm.
music because it's mainly very commercial. Either you're playing at hotels or, you know, and the pay is very low. So that's another like demotivating factor because there's so much music you can play for a very bad pay, you know, and you're just like, I'm sorry, I can't. So I definitely miss that about Sudan because there used to be a lot of music, you know, jam sessions and a lot of the energy is so beautiful in Khartoum. So that's one thing that I dislike about the island is that the music scene is not very spontaneous as it could be. They have a very interesting, you know, local genres like this mix of tarab, of like Arabic, Swahili culture. It's very interesting music, and good musicians are very few. I think, yeah, you know, it's I don't know. I get really depressed when I think about the music scene out here. But I try to, you know, play with a few artists every now and then. Yesterday I had a gig with this one rapper, who's very cool. Which for me, I'm like, am I really playing music with a rapper? I'm like a jazz musician. That's what I would do, you know. But then here I'm playing with this rapper, so that was cool. Yeah.
You know, I think versatility is important to artists and musicians. You know, whether you're playing with a jazz artist, a rock and roll artist, or you know, a rapper. But the beauty of the versatility makes a difference. Adriani, what about you?
Um, so I mean, since I started photography, I have seen. So my experience here will be 3 years, and this 3 years I have seen a lot of small groups popping up and people teaching photography, and there's a lot of small groups starting with film photography as well.
Mhm.
So I receive sometimes messages from people I don't know, and they said, "Oh, I'm interested. Where can I learn? Where can I meet you?" And also with the photography festival happening now in March in Qatar, it's like really an initiative even from the government to really start this for the people and to give this access to people, and planning the workshops and doing all this stuff for free. I think it's really giving a good, let's, it's not start, but it's giving a good start for a lot of people who don't have access or don't even know that this is happening in the country, because Qatar is a very small country, but believe me, it's very hard to find out what's happening. Maybe because there's people from everywhere, and then people, they are in their small communities and speaking their own languages. Maybe it's that, I don't know. But I believe with bigger festivals like that, it's good to let people know, okay, you can come here and you can learn here and you can gather here and learn from each other. And there are grants, they're giving grants for photographers and for projects. So I feel like it's really good to see that, because the first time I came here was in 2000. So it's nothing compared to what's happening now here in the country, how it grew and how things changed. And occasionally when I go back to Brazil, I mean, it's just really, really different. Even the style of photography, how things are done, it's just fast. And I feel like it's very documentary oriented as well in Brazil. So I think it's good to have this whenever I get the chance to go back home. Because of COVID, I couldn't go, but it's good to have these two experiences as a photographer.
It is. I'm sure. The fact that you're in Qatar and you're from Brazil. I mean, you get a chance to see the different ambiance of both countries. And I'm sure going to Hamida next. You're Qatari, so you've been there, and so talk about, from your perspective.
I read a book that was called Arabian Time Machine, and I found it really interesting from the anthropological perspective because since the discovery of oil and gas, our society has been propelled. It's almost as if they went into a time machine, and the amount of development that has happened in my lifetime alone is quite unheard of, I feel, in the world. And it's so interesting to be an artist and alive right now because I feel like we were the generation of transition, and I witnessed the birth of the film industry here in Qatar. I had the privilege to work with the Doha Film Institute when they first started, and that was in 2010. And fast forward 11 years, I've witnessed we had planted the seeds back then, and now the seeds are beginning to flourish. And it's interesting to see how the filmmakers have developed from the University of Northwestern and Qatar Foundation, or students from Qatar University making their own films. And Doha Film Institute is the hub for all filmmakers in Qatar because they offer a platform for us to develop our work, they fund our work, and they have a film festival for us to screen it. So I believe that we are on the verge of great things for cinema here in Qatar, and the best is yet to come. And I feel that we're bearing fruit. We're starting to bear fruit now, and it's a very exciting time to be active.
Listen, I can attest to that. Living there for several years, Doha Film Festival, the fire station, the Doha Fire Station. They really invest in the arts. Beautiful country, and the Islamic Museum itself is just one of my favorites. What is that? Mataf, I think it's called. There's just so much history in the different countries. So, yeah, Hiba.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm currently based in Cairo. I live in Cairo now at the moment. I don't know for how long I'm staying, but let me talk about Khartoum, uh, since that's what I know best. Um, well, yeah, about the history, I just want to talk about one thing, which is the regime. The regime that started in 1989 and ended at 2019. When this regime came to Sudan, they completely destroyed, you know, the art scene, or like the industry, if I can call it that, in Khartoum, like in the 70s and stuff, or stories that I hear from my parents and like from my music teacher at the university. There used to be like huge concerts in Khartoum, like big bands would come to Khartoum, like proper concerts, and music parties and stuff like that. But when the past regime started, they completely shut down all of that and ended all of this, and it turned into like we don't have carnivals, we don't have festivals, music festivals. Now we had like weddings for this 30 years period, like music concerts turned into like weddings and like commercial music, which is cool, but it's not really cool. Why am I saying it's cool? It's like it's really disaster for art and for music. Um, Things like got really really twisted, and it was done on purpose. Like my father would talk about. He knows of a huge project that the regime shut down. Like it was a huge project of like building very big cultural centers with like amazing equipment, music equipment, and they shut that down. So it was very different, you know, from back then till that and this 30 years period. And now I feel like there's so much youth, like power and energy, and people are like, just how the revolution, you know, started. That same energy is happening in art, or even I can say art like started, you know, like the revolution, or through that, you know. I don't know what I'm saying, but currently there is so much, yeah, youth, um uh like energy and power, and like the youth are trying to do stuff. There's so much more like workspaces and like centers, like small centers that are starting to open up in Khartoum, and like people like Islam, you know, she's doing so much. She's like contributing. There's so much contribution that she's doing, and like lots of, you know, youth doing like work like that, amazing work. And I find it really inspiring how this 30 years, you know, we grew up in like a very like difficult time, very toxic time, you know, and we're still like, people chose to be like artists and chose to, hey, like let's change this, let's like rebuild this whole thing. And I think it's that's really amazing, but there are some stuff that are out of, you know, out of our hands. The, you know, yeah, like the government needs to start working on some stuff, like on the real world. Like there must be like equipment, there must be like proper music schools and stuff like that for us to experience and have like the old days, you know, back.
I hear what you're saying, you know, and just to add on to that even more so, and Islam, because you both are from Sudan, you know, the different challenges is that 30 years ago, you know, I know that has put a damper on things, you know, but the beauty of it is that you two and the other young men and women who are part of that art scene, you know, it makes a difference with the different your creative juices that you're bringing to the table. You know, you're sort of like redefining that path. It's like a, you got to press restart, but it's still very difficult. I know it is. You know, I know the whole history. You know, it's still very difficult. But with your energy and your beauty and your creativity, you know, that's what makes a difference. You know, it really makes a difference. You just got to keep pushing even beyond all those different barriers. And then the opportunity for you ladies to be where you are in Cairo and even in Zanzibar, you have the opportunity to continue that journey in many different places, you know? So, boy, that's a lot. You know, and speaking of challenges, you know, let's go into this next question. What are some of the challenges that you all face as young women in your respective regions and in your industry space? Hamida, let's start with you.
Well, in filmmaking, since it's a relatively new industry in Qatar and I was a part of that new wave, it was difficult for a patriarchal society to accept a woman working with a lot of men, going out in strange hours, shooting at the desert. Sometimes our call times would be 2 a.m. so that we can catch the sunrise, and traveling for projects. So all of these things are relatively new to a conservative society. What I believe the biggest hurdle for me was to get my family at large, my tribe, to respect and understand that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, because it's like what Hiba said earlier, art isn't as respected as other professions in our culture, and for a woman to want to make that her life, I get jokes like, why don't you just go work in the ministry like normal people? Why don't you just get a consistent income and a 9 to 5 job? But the beauty of this work is that I'm doing it out of love and passion, and that really nourishes my soul. And I have to have the world as my canvas. I can't sit at a desk. This isn't what nourishes me, what feeds me, and what makes me happy. And I believe that many people who are pioneers and who make a change will face a lot of challenges and people not necessarily understanding or accepting their choice. And it's only later down the line that they will see the value in that. And I'm already starting to see the shift, people accepting me and people being proud of me. So I'm happy to be a part of that change.
I think that's beautiful, especially being a Muslim woman. I mean, I've said earlier, I'm a Muslim woman as well. And especially, every region is different. So, there are some beautiful changes that are being made, and it's a process. It's a process for everyone. Islam.
I mean, before I even start, I want to say I absolutely love what you said, Hamida. I think you're like such an inspiring woman, and just
Really
getting
is.
to today is like the highlight of the rest of this whole month or what to come. But it's really beautiful. I think to have such to be able to sit with a lot of women who can relate to each other's struggles, because I don't think there's a single woman who does things that she's not supposed to be doing. Doesn't like we understand the struggle of every single other collective woman as a collectively. And for me, of course, like every other woman, the biggest challenge was to just, again, society. Hey, society, this is what I want to do. Leave me alone. Let me do what I want to do. But no, and being Sudanese, so like I grew up in a lot of different countries, and I was very privileged to be able to travel a lot with my family and to, get a lot of exposure. So by default, every time I went to Sudan for vacations, everyone was like, "You're not Sudanese. This is not how Sudanese girls act. This is not how Sudanese girls behave. What's up with your hair?" And I'm like, guys, like I don't know any better. So it was hard to be Sudani in Sudan, and it was hard to be anything else outside of Sudan. And so, of course, I grew up and I came to realize my identity. And I realized my identity through being a musician. And this is something that I'm starting to realize nowadays as I'm reflecting a lot on my past couple of years. But being a musician, and especially trying to survive as a musician in a time where everything sounds the same and you're always trying to sound different. So and this regime for the last 30 years, like Hiba had mentioned, there's like upsides to it where we now are able to leverage on music that hasn't been heard before. We're able to develop sounds that haven't been, heard before, and that will push us towards in the artistic. Actually, there's nothing good about that regime. That was the worst thing that ever happened to my country, and it set us back 30 years. And I don't even think we're going to be able to get back there for the next another 30 years, because now there's this huge problem with people themselves, when now they realize the problem was never the government, the problem was you, and now you have to work on yourself. But so yeah, like challenges, I used to get a lot of nonsense from family members about not being allowed to go out and play shows. Not, of course, what am I wearing? They don't like what I wear. They don't like that I play bass, which is so weird. They were like, "Oh, this is such a manly instrument. You need to play something more feminine." And I think every woman who plays an instrument gets some sort of, thing like this. They tell you that you have to pick something that was more feminine, something that made you, I don't know what the problem is, and why they're always trying to box this, but most of these challenges came from men, to be honest, in society, which is why I also have a lot of, I don't even know how I feel about men at this very moment. Like, I really like them, but I don't like them at all because of, especially Sudani men. And I make the statement, not every Sudani man, but majority of them. They've really like they're constantly trying to. I don't even know, like, what are you guys trying to get at? Sudani men, like, what is it with you? just like let us be. We want to live. We want to, and now I'm like personally, I'm dating a non-Sudani, and Sudani men are upset. I'm like, well, what have you guys done for us? Just made our lives a living hell. And now when you choose other people, then you still. But yeah, I could go on and on about how difficult it is to be a woman, Sudani woman, a black woman, and to be able to try to do something that is different. And like Hamida said, once people start recognizing it, then they start believing in what you can do. And I think before I had the CNN premiere, people were like, "Wow, what is this nonsense that you're doing? Go work. You're so talented. You're so smart. You can make a lot of money." And I'm just like, "Yo, I'm cool with this freelance life, man. I get a good paycheck. I survive for a few months, and this is good. I'm happy with that because I get to do the things that I love doing." So, yeah, all challenges are, they come, but they're always, in my opinion, I think challenges are just the way we build and shape who we are um, in the future.
Listen, you just said it. You said it. You're doing what you love doing. You. We have to really dance to our own drumbeat, move, because if we do what others want us to do, we won't be happy. We're just going to be doing it like robotically. Adriani.
So, I mean, with what Islam was saying about family and people around you, that also happened to me a lot, which is one of the things I even mentioned before, why I was not doing what I wanted to do. But I mean, that's not something that affects me as much nowadays. So if I think of my life at this moment, my challenges, I think the first one is everywhere I work and all the projects I'm called to, most of them, I am surrounded by men. And that makes everything very hard because you're the last one to speak. It's no one really listens to you. Your ideas are usually not good enough, and you are being explained simple things all the time. Like I've had people getting the camera from my hand and telling me how to use my camera, and this happens very often. And I cannot say that it's something that would only happen here. I'm sure that it would happen in many other countries because I speak also to other women photographers and they face similar issues. So it's very hard when you create your own idea and you build everything, and when you have to present it, it's men that don't really want to listen to what you're trying to say. So that is very hard. And there's a few women photographers here, to be honest, like very few. And even when we need support from each other, we connect. So it's maybe one, two, or three that I know, and then we're all supporting each other because in a way you're a very, very small group. So that makes things very hard. And other things like working in certain projects or events that you deal with people that don't respect you, not only as photographers, but as a person, because you're a woman and you're working in that event or whatever as a photographer. So why are you here? And then there are questions about who are you in this country with? Are you with your family? And there is this thing, oh my God, this happens so much. As soon as they find out that you're not, that you are with your family or something, they respect you a bit more. But the fact that I go into places by myself holding my camera, some people feel like they can just approach me and ask me whatever they want and say whatever they want. So that's something that happens all the time. And the other thing is that, I mean, I have been here for a bit over 10 years, and I came here to Qatar a while ago for the first time. I also lived in Saudi Arabia. I know how a lot of things work, but that doesn't mean that it's not hard for me. It's really hard for me to feel free to talk about any subject I want. It's very hard. Whenever I work on a project, on a personal project, I'm always thinking, okay, what are people going to think? There is that, you know, am I being sensible or not? So I have to think about the repercussions of my work in ways that I wouldn't think of if I were in my country. So this is the thing that is always in the back of my mind. So there are some projects that I also only do in my country. Maybe it's nothing, but I just don't want to upset anyone. I really don't. I want to be respectful. I'm not in my country, and I want to respect the local culture, but sometimes that I feel like I still need to find that balance where that doesn't affect me to the point where I don't work on a project because I'm too afraid that maybe that will bring something negative.
I understand. I understand when you're an artist and you have all this creative energy, you have to ask yourself millions of questions. Like, can I do this? Why can't I do it? Especially if it's a gift from above. It's a gift that was given to us. And you wonder, if this is a gift that is given to us, why can't we express it? Of course, you can be respectful. You can be respectful, but why be silent on something that's beautiful? And everyone, every region, that's why I think this is beautiful that I'm interviewing you ladies and you're from different regions. But every country has its stipulations and its rules. But then I'm like, why do we even need these rules? Certain rules I can understand, but when it comes to creative expression, let me do my thing. Okay, let me show you what I'm working with. Okay, and so I hear where you're coming from. Hiba.
Yeah, thank you for asking us one of my favorite questions. I would like to talk about struggles, and I feel like struggles and like hard times inspire my music. But at the same time, it's very difficult to experience these challenges. For me, yeah, as like a human being, I am experiencing some stuff that inspire my music, but as a woman, same stuff that these beautiful ladies said. But there's something that I am currently thinking of, and I've been thinking of, I think, for the past maybe, I don't know, 7 months or more. As I said, I'm all about family, and I feel like family is the reason of why I am the person I am. But then I discovered that my parents have created this challenge that I'm about to say now, and I feel like it's one of the hardest that I've ever experienced. I'm experiencing. It's the fact that I don't think that I'm free, and I would love to be. It's my main goal now is to be a free performer, and I feel like both my parents, they support me so much, and they want to see me do and like achieve my dreams and go places, but they never verbalize that. But I feel like they're telling me, you're gonna be a musician and you're gonna perform and you're gonna do music videos and stuff, but we want you to be that with certain boundaries, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like that has put this huge challenge on me, because now I feel like I'm not free, and I feel like this is so important, like for performance. I've done a couple interviews, and I say the same thing. I look at like performers, Ethiopian like musicians and performers, like from the past and now, and I see like Telahon Gestase, like this huge icon, and Abinet, and all the Haimunet, if I'm saying her name right,
Mm-hmm.
and like the way that they perform on stage is so magical, because for me it's because they are free and they're not holding back on anything. And of course, like the community and the society is a huge part of why I feel like women are not as free on stage. But because I rely on my family on everything. This is the one thing that I didn't rely on them on. Like they don't have. I feel like my parents, they don't have my back on this particular challenge of me like going on stage and doing whatever that I want, like whatever, like move the way that I want. It sounds very like small, but it is huge, because if I'm not free, then what am I doing? What am I offering? If I'm not confident, then if my confidence is like taking away, what is there, left, and like that makes me think of people who, and like female artists, and like and women who are not, or who her situation like is different than mine, like their families aren't that supportive. That really, I really sometimes I get like I deep into that hole of like, wow, like look, I'm experiencing all of these challenges, and but I have my, like my family's back and my parents back. I mean, my parents have my back. But what about the girls that don't have that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's really it's crazy. You know, imagine like having the whole world, like that feeling of having the whole world like against you. This is, and still like I know some women, like some musicians and rappers, and who are, their families are so against, like completely against what they're doing, but they're still doing it. It's really powerful, really powerful. I don't know where I was going with both these points, but it's what's on my mind. It's what's on my mind at the moment about challenge.
No, I hear you. I hear you, and I understand. And I'm gonna speak as a mommy, as a parent. I have two sons. You all know him, Jelani. He's 30. What was my child? 31, and then I have a 20-year-old. So they're both artists, and I've come to the conclusion that every child is different. you know each one of you have your own special something that you bring to the table. There's some things I may not agree with and some things I will agree with, and then a lot of times us old parents will say stuff like, oh, we didn't do that in our time. What are y'all doing? What is this? So I don't knock it, I don't down it, because apparently that's your expression that's reaching some audience, some older audience or younger audience or somewhere in between. Those words, the movement, the lyrics, and everything has an impact on some communities and some countries. So, I don't necessarily say don't do it. I just said think about what you're doing, but at the same time, still be supportive. So I hear what you're saying, because it's like you want to be respectful, you want to do this, but you still feel like I can't move like I want. Yeah. And especially as Muslim women, that's always a factor. You can ready to say something, Islam?
Wanted to add on to that point. Sorry, we're going out of script, but I
Oh
think
no, go ahead. We're not going off script. Go ahead.
um, and the point is that as women, we are chained in so many ways, whether it's by ourselves, by society, by our friends, by our parents. And we're lucky few of us who have this support of siblings, of parents, where they can like somehow unleash a few things that make them feel good, but at the same time it weighs so much on you, like Kiba said, like when you feel like there's a limit to how far you can take your skill, how far you can take your wants in life. Once you feel limited, and it's something that men never really experience. I'm not like trying to do this whole men women thing, but my
Right,
brother,
right.
yeah, my brother never ever felt like he couldn't do something, and that is in terms whether it's going to a party or it's going to or playing something or trying out different things. But I have to think about, of course, there's a thing where society tells you you're responsible for the whole family, right? So I have to think about the reputation of my dad and the reputation of my mom and my brother and my sisters, and you'd have people be like, oh, if you do this, your sisters are not going to get married. I'm like, what? How does my actions reflect on my sister's personal life? But this is the kind of environment in which we were brought up in as Sudanese women, where your actions directly or indirectly always influence something. And because of that, when you're trying to become an artist, you just feel like there's not really so much you can do, because there's always going to be someone who's going to say, oh shit, look at the daughter of whom XYZ, she's doing that. And then I have to think about what my father's going to think. I have to think about how, when I walk around in the streets, and all of this pressure,
Mm-hmm.
it just creates a lot of depression. It creates a lot of tension. It creates a lot of, it limits what we can do and how much we can achieve. And
Exactly.
only if we've worked on relieving these chains can we truly start exploring who we are, what we can do, and how much we can give back to the world.
Yeah, I want to add to what Islam is saying. Like, that's exactly what I mean. It's not about, oh, I feel disappointed that I can't, make a music video of me like shaking my body in this certain way. It's the thought, it's that thought that you can't, you know. And then when you ask why, like the answer, like there's so much shame that comes with it, and that limits a lot, especially the way we were brought, as young girls, it's there's so much like be quiet, don't say that, don't wear that, don't do that, don't, and it's all connected, So
No,
I
I
wish
was saying.
it
Go ahead.
changes.
Ramita, you were going to say something? Oh, okay. I thought someone was going to say something. No, I mean, this is one of these questions that we can just go on because I can share a lot, even in the US, but the difference with me is I'm an American Muslim woman, and everybody's different. Every region is different. And I'm not saying every Muslim woman or non-Muslim woman is this way. It just depends on, my parents were born in 1924. So they're no longer here. So they had me in their 40s. So that's like really old school. So of course I had no choice. They were Muslim, we were all Muslim. But when you mention about dance, music and dance are very spiritual. It's a very spiritual thing. The way folks express themselves, whether they're shaking a little bit too much or whatever, it may not necessarily mean provocative. It's an expression of art, and some people look at it differently. Look at Africa, where, in those different countries, those expressions, it's how it's presented, is how the media has presented this in a very in a way that takes it away from its spiritual context, you see. And so because of that, it allows parents, old school parents and other parents, to feel certain ways and be like, oh, wait, I don't want my baby doing that. Oh, you can't do that. And the boys are treated differently than the girls because, the boys can go out and hang out all night long, but no, not baby girl. Baby girl needs to stay in this house and do this, that, and other. But that's not like that everywhere. It depends. There's a shift in every situation. But I hear what you ladies are saying. Once again, that's why I say this conversation is so important, because it gives the viewers who are going to be watching this from different places a view into your world and what you have experienced as a woman in your region. Completely different. So, anybody else want to chime in on that? Sure, go ahead.
I wanted to say something, and I was feeling anxious. I didn't know what it was until Hiba mentioned freedom.
Yes.
And that's exactly, it's just everything. It's just a search for freedom. And how can you achieve that when you're constantly having these thoughts and, this that you heard from your parent or your friend or your grandfather or grandmother? It's something that you can't do. When someone looks at you from the outside, they think you're free. They think that that's not bothering you. Maybe if you're dancing or you're singing or you're taking photos or making a film, it doesn't matter because you're looking at you, but they don't see that. But inside, you're always thinking, okay, is this okay? Is this a way that I should behave? Even without thinking, that thought is always in the back of my mind. And I was talking to Hiba before because when she shares her singing online, to me, that's amazing. But we don't know what the thoughts that she has. Maybe, okay, maybe someone of the family is going to think this or that. But we just see that part. Okay, she's here. She's brave. She's showing her face. She's singing. She's showing her talent. But we don't know what's behind. And that affects you because you are the person that, despite you're singing in front of 1,000 people, you still have that thought. So that can really limit you physically. That can make your body, you just stop from doing whatever you want to do because of the lack of freedom, because your mind is thinking of all of these things that were put in your head before. So that's like I think that it's something that I want to do with my life. And when I said that I started photography 3 years ago was when I realized I am nowhere near where I wanted to be. and I am not going on the path to freedom. And when I say I am experimenting now as a photographer, is that I don't want to limit myself and say I am this, because at this moment I want to pursue things that make me feel free, because it's something that I've never felt in my life before.
Wow, that's beautiful. So, ladies, you have worked on several diverse projects and with a variety of individuals. So, let's briefly talk about the importance of being versatile as a photographer, filmmaker, and musician. Hiba, let's start with you.
Yeah, I forgot what's the meaning of versatile.
Meaning to be able to change. We were talking about this earlier before we um, went into the show. The fact that Islam says she had to work with a rapper, and she loves jazz. So the versatility in your music and the different genres, how does that work for you as far as changing it up every now and then?
Yeah, well, yeah, for me personally, I've I'm dealing with that at the moment, and I'm learning. I'm now recording an album, an EP album of consisted of 6 songs that I have written when I was like 18 and stuff, and I had this specific idea of how I want it to sound like. And now, like, I'm working with different musicians with different backgrounds, and I'm starting to learn that, hey, like, this person with this background can add this, and this person can add that, and it would turn out like much more uh, beautiful. But also I can talk about that and my experience of co-producing, like, the music videos, the two music videos that I've done with both my sisters, May and Sadie. We've worked with, like, videographers and, like, photographers, cameramen, and it was such an amazing like experience. Both like music videos, they're, like, for me, they're highlighted, in my career. The way that we made like, we created those videos, it was like homemade projects. But then having these people, like, no one got paid. None of the videographers, none of the, like, the actresses, no one got paid anything. They just came in, and for me, it's all about, this love. It sounds cliche, but it was really, like, made with love. Everybody just cared about, like the final result, and everybody was focused on, contributing to this, like, project, and giving out their time and their equipment and their experience, and, like, their different backgrounds. And the way that it happened, it was so smooth. Of course, there were some challenges, but it was really, like, kind of, magical for me, and I love that about like, the scene, the production scene, if I can say that, in Khartoum. It's so collaborative. People are willing to help, and I know that it's not like that everywhere else. People are willing to come in and just help you be better, and help you, like, produce your stuff and do your work. I only paid, like, studio time. I never pay any of the musicians, any of the. It's all now I'm doing this with the EP because I got the fund.
I
But
love it.
before that, it was all, hustle and, like, collaborations and stuff. So yeah, that's all I can say about that.
I think that's awesome. Adriani?
So this is something that I learned recently when people started messaging me, people that I've never met. They say we should collaborate on something. And until then, I always did everything by myself, everything. And then just having someone who is a stylist or an art director, people, they come with different ideas. That is so interesting because you learn things you never thought of. You do things you've never thought of, and they bring new ideas that just contributes to your work. I learned so much with these people, and even if we work for 1 hour and we never get to see them again, I've learned so much that way. And now this is something that I want to do again for other projects. It's always work with people that come even from different areas, even different backgrounds. I think that I had amazing experiences so far by collaborating with other artists. And but the first thing I thought when you said versatile, I just thought of just don't rely too much on one source of income if you want to be a photographer. Just have other options, because sometimes that just doesn't really work. Or you can have a season where, if you're a freelancer, there are seasons that you're working a lot, and then maybe you're going to be for 1, 2, 3 months without as much work. So what if you have to pay rent? What if you have to do this and that? So have other work waiting for you, and other projects and other things that you can rely on and count on, because sometimes it's kind of out of your control. Sometimes things just stop, and sometimes there's a lot. So it's just to be safe. I think just try different things so you have other options.
That is a part of being versatile. So you're right. Exactly. Hamida.
I believe that it's so important to be open to many different forms in your career, forms of art, whether it be music, art direction, um, even different forms of filmmaking. I mean, in my career, I made a point to explore versatile forms of filmmaking so that I discover my cinematic language. And so that included video art, filming things myself, working with a team. It's about being versatile in your process and versatile in the formats that you explore. And it's a give and take process. You evolve and you become a better artist as a result of that. So I think versatility is very key if you want to master the art that you're in. The greats were all versatile. So I think that it's definitely a great trait to have.
It's very profound and very true. Islam?
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much to say. I think these ladies have covered it. But from my experience, I don't think I'd be the musician that I am today if it wasn't for all the people that I played with, all the people that I've met over the last 4 or 5 years since I've been playing. The travel and the exposure, and also accepting different cultures, right? I think, and also opening room to take in different forms of art, constructive criticism, whether it is through, I think all criticism is constructive if it's, if it's coming from the right person, and that has allowed me to also like really understand different musical cultures, and also design and shape how I want to sound. Like I get a lot of things from Ghanaian high life. I get a lot of things from Sudanese music, from Zanzibari rhythms. The melodies from Sudan, and this diversity, or this ability to capture um, different elements really does shape and create the kind of artist that you are and you want to be. And so I think anyone who wants to diversify what they do, they should really open their minds and hearts to different projects, because together people can go really, really far. There's this African proverb that says something like, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. So I think, yeah.
Indeed. Those words can never be more true.
Mm.
So I like to do something special. This is where I like to brag on all the wonderful work that you ladies do with your talent. So I want each one of you to take me through a day in the life of you, the woman, the artist, the entrepreneur. So Hamida, let's start with you, and then as you start talking, I'm gonna just start sharing all the great things that you all are doing.
Well, a typical day in my life it's always different at different points of my career and what projects that I'm working on. But I think that it's so important to watch a lot of films, to read a lot of books, and to speak to people who have had more experience than you. So I feel that human connection is so important. And before the pandemic, travel was a huge part of it, because going to other cultures and learning from other people and the elders in other communities is what enriches my vision. So I feel that you need to ask me at different points in my life, and that day would be different. But my day right now is I wake up every day and I go into my edit suite and I'm editing my film, and that's been my obsession right now, trying to finish my feature film. So that's a typical day in my life, sitting on the desk and editing nonstop.
Oh yeah, I remember those days. Let me share some of the work, and maybe you can just talk with everyone about what this really is that I'm getting ready to share.
My name is Hamida Isa. I'm the director of Elevate, and it's such a pleasure to be given this platform to be sharing my work. What sparked the idea of Elevate started 2012, I believe. And I was coming home one day from work and I was really tired, and I was carrying my laptop and all these bags, and I didn't want to go up the stairs. I usually always go up the stairs, but I decided to go into the elevator. And as soon as I got into the elevator, it broke down. So I was trapped in the elevator for about almost 3 hours. I was screaming for ages before anyone heard me. I genuinely thought I was going to die in there. I suffered from a panic attack. I was hyperventilating. It was a pretty intense experience.
Okay, so you know what? I've been stuck in an elevator when I lived in, and that's not a nice feeling. So tell us about that.
This was a short film that I made in 2017. It was the second fiction short that I did. So I wrote the script and directed it. But like, as you saw, it was based on some sort of real life experience in a sense. And then I fictionalized it and added a universal message about humanity in the film. The film speaks about social issues, racism, socioeconomic factors, about class, and about prejudice. And the ending of the film comes to this realization of the universality of the human experience, and how we are all one, and how we all connect, how we're all the same, essentially, and we need to see beyond these social constructs. So that's the story of Elevate. They get trapped in the elevator, but they're actually elevated to a higher level of consciousness. So this was that was the idea behind the name. Yes, I see you, Hiba.
You are just so deep beyond words. I mean, like, your wisdom is just amazing. Let me show one more, and you can share about this one as well.
This is for the dreamers, the believers, the hopeful and the strong. Believe we can unify and act as one. Thunderous claps hit the inner core of our hearts. As ice crumbles down, a sign that we need to restart. Close your eyes and remember the essence of who we are. Pray that our collective reflection changes on the crest of the waves and under the stars.
So Hamida, when is your book coming out?
My book. Well, I'd love to write a book very soon, but I just need to finish my film. And but yeah, my dad has been telling me, when is your book going to come out since I was a kid. So I really need to get on that. This is actually a poem that I wrote in Antarctica called Shades of Blue. And on the expedition, there was a poetry competition, and I wrote this poem. And I really didn't want to perform it, but my friend made me perform it, and I won the poetry competition on the ice. And so I used footage that I shot on a GoPro to make this video. And the poem isn't going to make it into the final film, but the shots, the underwater shots are. If you watch the full thing, at the end, you can see penguins swimming, and it seems like they're flying, and it's just a very ethereal, magical experience. Antarctica changed my life, so I'm always going to be trying to express that experience in different ways, and that's why I made this short video and to commemorate that poem. I actually made that at the beginning of lockdown because I feel that everyone was stuck at home and we're all feeling very disheartened, and I wanted to share a positive message and an uplifting and inspiring one. So that's when I decided to finally share this poem with the world.
I think it's awesome. How can they find this? You can also search it on YouTube and then your Instagram page, correct?
Yes, on my Instagram, it's Global Bedu.
Awesome. Now we're going to go to Islam. So talk to us about your day, Islam, and then I am going to go show some of your fabulous videos.
My day, I think my days have been very similar. I never leave the house. I'm always home. I have a beautiful house, and it has pretty much anything that I need. So if I do go out, it's probably just a bike or to the ocean, to the beach or something. But I'm always home, and the first thing I do when I wake up is I drink coffee. Like literally, I get out of bed. I have amazing access to amazing coffees. I just go to the kitchen, I make myself a cup of coffee, then I just like drink my coffee, and then I feel like, okay, cool, now I'm awake, what's up? I have breakfast, and then I start working. I'm working on this very cool research nowadays, this really nice cool firm in Kenya. So we're just doing this research on cultural heritage in Sudan, and so that consumes a lot of my time. And then I don't know, I cook lunch because I've been living alone for the last 3 months, which hasn't really happened my whole life. I've never cooked so much in my life, so now I enjoy a lot of cooking. I cook a lot. I explore with a lot of different flavors and spices. I think my mom would be super proud of me if she got to see my cooking levels. Yeah, I cook lunch. I eat. Normally, I get really sleepy after I eat lunch, so I just chill back, and then I try to listen to some music, try to like learn some new music, and then I go into the shed, which is like the practice room. Ideally, I'd like to practice every day, but it doesn't really happen, which makes me very sad. But it's okay. I also realize that it's fine because I'm working like 4 jobs right now, so I can't really. It's hard to find time to practice as much as I'd like. Yeah, I practice, and then I cook dinner, and then I chill, and then maybe watch a movie. That's it. And on the weekends, I try to go watch some live concerts, so I can still feel like I'm connected to the outside world since I'm just always at home.
So that's a nice plush life. But I'm going to share some of your music. But before I share this, let me tell you, I was on YouTube and on your Instagram page, and girl, you were playing Earth, Wind, and Fire, one of my favorites. And I'm like, check her out. I think that was you were playing with a gentleman. I don't remember when it was because I didn't look at the year or the date or whatever. But you were on point. Just put it like that. So let me share some of her fabulousness with you all. about that.
Tell you about what?
What I just played. Where was that?
That was one of my most favorite moments in my life. I think
Really?
I was visiting Zanzibar last year, like in February for this festival. I just there to check out the festival. It's one of my favorite festivals, Southeast Abu Sara. And the band who was playing is called City and the Band. Guys, you need to check them out. They are like such an incredible band. It's led by
Oh,
this
man.
massive, incredible woman called Amina. She plays oud and she sings. She's a super strong woman. And yeah, it's always been like, oh my god, I really want to play with these guys. Blah blah. So they invited me on stage to join them for a song. So I just played with them, and I had hosted them in Sudan just like maybe a few weeks before that. They were in Khartoum playing a concert, so it was cool. That was
What's
that moment.
the name of the band?
CT and the band. I'll write it down here.
Something in the band. Okay, I'll put it in the information. Let me put that. I Like I said, I had an opportunity to just go on YouTube and your Instagram page, and you have so many, so many things that I wanted to share. But tell folks how they can find you, and then we'll ask everyone else later on as well.
Here's the thing, and one of my biggest dilemmas in life that I am too scared to make proper videos and post them. Like, I have a proper production set at home, my monitors, my keyboards, my basses, everything. But I just can't seem to sit down and record it, and that's been really, really hard. So I don't really have any nice content that I could share with people, but mainly I post a lot of stuff on Instagram. But now, inshallah, 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 I have to pray that I can do this. Is I'm gonna start just making these short clips that I will post on YouTube, so I can like really start being out there. Because, like Adriana said, like it's so hard, especially when you feel like you're not as good as you need to be, or you're not at a skill level that is right. So I feel really like anxious about posting things. But they can find me on Instagram, Islam with Beatty.
There you go. You can find her on Instagram. Let me play one more. You can tell us about this one as well. So talk to us about that one.
That was with this really, really dope band from Khartoum called Aslaf. I'll write that down. They work on, they showcase traditional Sudanese music, but in a very modern way. And that was a take on an Ethiopian song by Mulatto Statke. And yeah, we were just I was just playing a solo. It was very improvised. It wasn't like, it was okay. Um, yeah, so that was it, and it was a promo for this live session we did in May last year, like a whole concert online with the band Aslaf. So shout out to Aslaf. If y'all can see this, I love you guys.
It's awesome. So next we have Adriani.
So my day, it's not very exciting. I try to have a routine, to be honest. I wake up every day at 6 a.m. because I found out that's really good for my mental health, because things got really bad during the lockdown, especially being away from family. So I spend in the morning at least an hour and a half stretching, exercising, meditating, praying, all of those things in the morning, and writing so I can start my day. And that changed my life, to be honest. Like I can function the rest of the day without thinking of all the negative things. And then it really depends on the day. A lot of times I just sit and edit photos the whole day. Sometimes I have photo shoots, so I just go to photo shoot, come back, edit photos. So it's mostly like just editing photos and going out for photo shoots. And whenever I have free time, I like to write about other projects that I want to do and do some research before if I want to do a specific project or maybe a documentary project. I like to read about that. And all of that is done with very loud music in my house. Also, it cannot be done in silence because it's just, I can't. And the dog that you might have heard is because I decided to foster a dog because I said, well, this house is too quiet. And now it's just a lot. But she's destroying everything. But yeah, that's, and also, I mean, here in Qatar, we have more, because the situation is a bit more controlled and compared to many other countries. So we can still go out, do photo shoots. There are a lot of things happening, to be honest. So it really depends on how the cases are. So I have some outside life, but nothing much. Just meeting our friends, like meeting friends and having picnics. That's my life, basically. Those are my days.
Listen, that's life, and we need something else in between. Like Islam says, she has a beautiful home and she can just chill and do this. I mean, hey, listen, I can relate, you know, and then you can go play your music, do what you need to do. You need that balance, at all times. So I want to share some of your work. You're one heaven of a photographer. I'm very proud of all of you ladies, but let's share some of the work and then you can talk over this as I'm sharing.
Okay. So this was the first photo series I did seriously that I was learning. And then I thought I learned how to connect the photos and create a series based on a story. And that was the first time I did it. And I did it in my bedroom with my family. And it's always because I'm still very insecure. And it works for me to call the people that I know that I feel safe and that they're going to give me time. And I tell them, can you please sit here and do this and that? And they're very flexible. So my brother and my husband did that for me. They just spent the whole day experimenting and they were like, do whatever you want. And that was the first series that I did. Oh, no, sorry, the second. And then I submitted this for a competition here in Qatar and they took it to Russia for the exhibition. It was the year of Qatar, Russia. So they chose some artists and they took the photos to Russia. So that was the first international exhibition that my photos went to. And I didn't go, but my photos went. And that was amazing. So it was really, really cool.
That's awesome. What about this one?
So when I started, I thought that it goes around the same idea. Just I wanted to do something that I was comfortable with. And I love the place that I am from. I love it so much. It has so many problems. Like if I could choose, to be honest, I wouldn't live there. But I love that place. So I decided to just go out, document my friends, document the streets. And that was one of the first times that I did it. I didn't really know how to use the camera, to be honest. So I was experimenting. Out of maybe 50 photos that I took, 10 were okay. The last were unfocused or blurry or overexposed. It didn't work. But I went to this local football game because football is huge in Brazil. And this is a team from my neighborhood. And they were practicing because they had a game the next day. So I went to document that. And it's just really different from so many other countries because just the practice was full of people. And I felt more comfortable than I would in other places. So basically, yeah, that's a part of a thing that I do every time I go back home. I like to document my neighborhood.
Here's the last one. I really like this one.
Yeah, so that's the one that I'm working on right now. It's called Kawiya, and I am taking photos of women in sports in Qatar. It's an ongoing project. It's probably going to take a while because I call women, I message them. I asked the ones that I take photos to maybe call their friends. So it takes some time until women feel comfortable. They know who I am. They know what I'm going to do with the photos. A lot of them are not very comfortable with me taking photos of them. But this is just to highlight because when my father was a football player and my house was always full of his friends and athletes, but there were no women. And without even thinking, you just assume that to be a football player or to do certain sports, you have to be a man. And I just didn't have those references back then. So this is a way of contributing to that, and try to tell the stories of these women that I had the privilege to meet, because they have amazing stories. A lot of them are actually have a lot of support from their families, which are things that even if I go back home and I tell them, everyone thinks, no, they're from Qatar. Their families don't want them to do this. But no, they have a lot of support from their families. They're very hardworking. They love what they do. And they were so happy to let me tell their stories. This is another thing that I always do when I take photos, is I just have conversations with people before. If the sun goes down, it's fine. I come back another day. I don't want the pressure. I want this to be a meeting. I want to get to know you. I want to talk to you. And just tell me about you. So every photo shoot that I do on my projects, we talk for maybe 2 hours, and then it's like 30 minutes or 40 minutes of photos. So yeah, this is the project that I'm doing now. And there is actually a woman that messaged me today, and I'm so excited to take photos of her. So it's just just meeting all these women and sharing their stories, and making sure that like younger girls don't have such a hard time finding other women to be inspired, especially in sports or any other area that usually you just link it with men. They're very male dominated.
I think it's important that you have a conversation with them first, because it gives you an opportunity to provide that perspective when you're shooting, So I think that's awesome. Hiba, let's talk about you, and then I'll share some of your work.
Yeah, it's this month and the past month and coming. I mean, like this period is the busiest like I've ever been working on so many projects. Like now that I'm thinking of it, I'm getting nervous about deadlines. Like, I have to get off this call and then go into the other like Zoom session. And I'm working on lots of projects, but I feel very proud of myself. Now like at a place where like I've always wanted to be like this, to be busy and to be working hard on something that I know that lots of like good opportunities will come out of it. Working hard on something that you love. I feel like I feel so blessed, to be honest. Yeah, well, I have a day job. I'm in Cairo now and renting a place, so I need that stable good income. So I work at a nursery school. I'm a teacher, like that. 15 kids that come with me. That's really cool, have, to be like superhero to these kids. I really enjoy kids, and I feel sad because I feel like it's good for my mental health. I'm excited to do that. They make me feel happy. But it's a very tough job, and it's hard mentally and physically. Yeah, it's stressful, but I love it. So yeah, that's what I do. I wake up at 7, 8. Like the nursery school I work at is down the street, so I wake up late, like in the morning. So we both wake up very late. It's a total mess. I wake up late and then I get on a taxi, and I should be walking. But no, I get on a taxi, I go there, do my 8 hours, working with the kids, and then I come back and I work on music, whether it's a session with the producer, with the producer, with any producer. It's amazing that I'm working with this EP. At the same time, I'm trying to produce this video with my sister and amazing Egyptian producers and videographers. So we're planning that out, and also planning and about to execute this other project that I have, a part of the residency that I've been on before. And then family, small businesses, and business. I studied business, and so my family are like, you studied business, you need your the knowledge that you have before you forget it. Family like this stuff. So I try to have also like eating have bad this family. So yeah, sometimes I go to the studio with different weeks. I go to the down. I work. Yeah, and also I spend lots of time making stories, posing with my sister and stuff. To stop doing that because deadlines are like so yeah.
That's some good stuff. I wanna share you singing some two pieces that I want to share. But do me a favor, Heba. I think your audio is a little off. I don't know. Do you have an earphone in your ear or something?
Really, was it like
Okay, no,
cutting?
I can hear you now. I can hear you a little bit better now. You were kind of breaking up a little bit.
Oh, sorry about that.
So I can keep it that way for the time being. But I'm going to share you singing in two different instances, and then once I share, you can talk about that.
It's getting more and more confusing. We're giving peace and love and we're losing. Fighting fear and we're bruising. Which holy book are we using? I feel your heartache, your heartache. I feel your heartache, your heartache. I feel your heartache, your heartache. I feel your heartache, your heartache.
Ooh, that was serious, girl. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Well,
Yes, I definitely can.
Okay. So yeah, that was a music video for a song that I've written called Hidayah, and the music video is produced by my sisters and I, and co-produced by Al Mustabi, which is a production company in Sudan. So they collaborated with us, and everyone who's involved in this music video and song, they all collaborated. Nobody got paid. Like it's amazing. And recently the music video won an award in a film festival in Australia. So that's really cool. I've written the song like 6 months before the Sudanese revolution, so it's about that. It's about feeling so helpless and hopeful, and this is what I was feeling when I wrote that song. And then 6 months later, I realized that hey, this is what everyone in Sudan was feeling. So helpless because the situation was so terrible, but then hopeful. If you're gonna go out in the streets and protest, then that means that you see that light. So the song is about that. Yeah, the music is directed by my sister. The concept is by my other sister Sally, and also costumes are by Sally. Shout out to everyone who was in this music video. And I have to talk about uh, the start of this music video. Me and my sisters, we've done another music video that won lots of awards and traveled, and it was a homemade video. It's called Rival on YouTube. Rival, Rival, and then we decided to do something bigger with like a wider scope and stuff with a bit of a budget, and that was like the biggest obstacle. And then I messaged a Sudanese. I don't know how to call her. Like, I don't know to say if she's an activist or a public figure. Her name is BS on Blast on Instagram. She's an amazing person. I messaged her and I was like, "Hey, Sarah, what can I do to produce? We need money for this next project. It's gonna be big. It's gonna be amazing." And she was like, because I tried lots of stuff. I had meetings with like companies in Sudan and stuff, and it didn't work. But when I messaged her, she just took over the whole thing and made it so easy. That was so inspiring for her. Like the way that we worked, it was so inspiring, and she got it. You know, for her to be, you know, Sudanese and a woman, and then for her to make it so easy for us to get money to do this. It was yeah, it's a moment. It was a moment for me, my sisters and I.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Let's show one more. I think that's great. Minute, girl. I'm showing the wrong one. See? Technical difficulties. That's Islam. I guess I just like showing you again, girl. Anyway.
We love to see it.
Hold on 1 second. No, here she is.
Heartbreaking sadness taking over the sea, the sea. Ending the lives of innocent human beings. Taking our sanity, I've never been so lost.
You have a beautiful voice.
Thank you.
So, briefly tell us about that.
Okay, yeah. For this one, it was a song that I've written after the massacre that happened on the 3rd of June.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, ended the sit-in that lasted for 6 months. That I was a part of, my brother was a part of, and lots of like people in Khartoum were part of, and that massacre traumatized so many people, and that lots of people are suffering from this. Yeah, so I was just trying to express my feelings, and it helped, you know. So it's really a blessing to be an artist because I released, you know, with that song, and people reacted to it. It's great.
Thank you, ladies. I appreciate you all. You know, we are coming to a close, but I wanted to ask a few more questions because I can just go on and on with you all, but I got to remember that you are 6 to 7 hours ahead of me. Um, so let's talk about a time that you can remember that was so memorable to you as it relates to your accomplishments or just a moment in time. Share that with us briefly. Let's start with you, Islam.
I'm lucky enough that there's so many of those moments that it's hard for me to just pinpoint or select one. But I'll say that I just played Busara this year at the festival in February, and that was a very important moment for me because I had just arrived here and I almost didn't know anyone, and then all of a sudden I was playing on like the biggest festival in the region. So that was like really really powerful. That's I think that's one of my important moments.
How was that for you? I mean, was it like
It was liberating. I felt like a fucking star. Sorry for my French. But
listen, that says a whole lot.
it was really cool. It was really nice. I was also the musical director for the band. I was the only woman, obviously, playing musician. And for me, that was important because every time I play on a big stage, it sets the ground for other younger girls to tell themselves like, "Oh my God, we can do it." And that's always been my goal. I think ever since I started playing music, being Sudanese, is that I wanted to play so that if I could do it, then all the other girls could do it,
Yes,
and they could get to feel how amazing it is to be able to do something that you enjoy so much. Yeah.
that's amazing. Adriani.
So I think the first thing that comes to my mind was the first photo series I did. I didn't know how to use a camera, and it was so complicated for me. And I'm like, I need someone to teach me. So I found this group, and then in the end, we all had to share a self-portrait project. And I was really, really, really in a horrible place in my life, and I managed to do that maybe in an hour. And when I printed the photos and I shared the work with them, to me, that was a confirmation that everything that I left behind was supposed to be where I left it. And I was actually choosing something that made more sense for me because the feedback, the people that could relate to what I was doing, and how I was able to explain what I was going through without having to say anything. I took a photo and I shared that photo, and everyone understood. No one knew anything about my life, no one knew anything about me. And then when I shared the photo, they all got it. So for me, that was one of the best things that happened, because it's just I always look back at that moment, and I think that when you create something that is honest and it's true to you, it's not made to please anybody else, that is the best thing you can do. So I always try to remember that, because there are pressures now for me, because people expect you to do this and that. When this or that person, they find out about your work, and in a way I'm thinking, I don't know, I just don't want to disappoint people in a way, I think, and I want to impress people. That's not always comes to my mind. So I have to remind myself of that day where everything just made sense, and that feeling I had, I want to experiment also in any other thing. Could be dance, it doesn't matter, but it just has to be something that is me, and it's made by me for me. And I think when you are transparent, people can relate to what you're saying, because I think even me, like I look to authenticity. When someone is being honest, I'm just drawn to it. And I think other people are as well. When you're being honest, when you're not trying to put up, this other person, this persona, and like, creating this image that doesn't exist. So I always think of that moment.
I agree. Being real, being transparent, being authentic. Hamida.
Well, for me, a highlight is definitely stepping foot on Antarctica and making a film. And I'm still making the film 5 years later. This has been, I think, the highlight of my career thus far. And creating a video art piece called Futra from some of the footage that I shot in Antarctica. For me, it was an abstraction of the film, and I used traditional pearl diving music, which is where I get the name of the film from, Makayin al-Ruh, which means places of the soul. And my grandfather was a pearl diver, so there are a lot of parallels. And it's an immersive video art installation. And when you walk into it, Fatra means divine consciousness. It's an Islamic concept, and it's what connects us with our creator. And the whole idea of the installation was that when you walk in, your fitra is reawakened by the fitra of nature. For me, that was such a proud moment to see it. And I made a white tent, and people would go in, and to see all of the different reactions of people in the community was such a rewarding experience.
Wow, that is so beautiful. You all have a way with words, and I just feel like I feel like I need to write a book for all four of you because I'm just inspired. Hiba, what about you?
Yeah, hard for me to to one, but I guess I'll go back.
Your audio sounds like it's going in and out. Minutes.
Is it okay now? I think
Much better.
it's good. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I was saying that it's hard for me to pick like one highlight, but I guess I'll go back to when I was 14 years old and my uncle Hussam and my father got me a keyboard. You know, as I said earlier, I got introduced to the piano when I was 9, so until I was 14, I used to dream every day of having like a keyboard so I can actually play and like, practice and write songs and play. So when they got me that keyboard, it meant so much to me. It meant everything to me. So that support is uh, amazing. Forever thankful for both of them for that gesture.
Thank you, ladies. So tell me, what's next? What's coming around the corner? What are you all working on? Adriani, let's start with you. Briefly, just tell me what's going on.
Okay. So right now, it's Kauia, the project that I really want to have more time to do it and meet these women and hear their stories. This to me is what is the project that I'm doing that is not financed by everyone. I'm doing it myself. So I think it's something that's even more exciting for me. And I am contributing in some ways to the photography festival here in Qatar. To me, that's really, it's amazing because you're having this amazing event for the first time in a country and I am being a part of it. That is so great. And I think the other thing is just hoping to go back home and continue taking photos of my neighborhood because I cannot wait to do that. I cannot wait for that time to come. I don't know when that's going to happen. So I am just like trying to keep myself busy and do things until I'm able to go back home and just see my family. And yeah, that's it.
Totally understand. Islam, what about you?
Well, career-wise or life-wise or everything or
Whatever you feel, this is anything and everything. Whatever you want to share.
right. Career-wise, I want to start working on my album. I've been trying to work on it for a while, so to have like a solo album where I will feature a lot of African artists on like probably a fully instrumental album, and that's like something I really really want to do. I'm getting married in like June, so that's like pretty cool as well, I guess. Yeah, Siva, look at her face. Yeah, and yeah, that's it. I have a lot of projects coming up. We're setting up a lot of academies around the continent, and we're trying to teach this like decolonized music education program. And there's a lot of that coming, and I'm also excited to go back to Sudan. I haven't been there in like 4 months. I'm excited to see my family. I haven't seen them in like 8 or 9 months. They're all based in Berlin, so I'm going to be in Berlin this summer to chill with my sisters and family. Yeah, I want to definitely do that music residency in Brazil, inshallah, if I ever find a way to get there. I think that would be really, really important for me. I also, my dream is to play with Burna Boy, and he also just won a Grammy yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
I think yesterday was a very important day for us, like African artists, to also see a lot of at least 3 or 4 Africans win Grammys. And that was a very strong point. So I think it's a way for all of us to like we can do it, it can happen, yay, you know. And I know for sure I'm gonna play with Burna Boy one day. I'm like manifesting this right now.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah, but that's it. That's it.
I think I'm gonna tag him in this video.
You know.
Yeah. I think you all need to. I think you 4 ladies need to collaborate and do something together. Don't ask me what that will be, but hey, I'm just putting it out there.
Oh yes, I'm already thinking that we should all go on vacation together at some point.
Yeah.
And just like a women's retreat where we like Adriana will take pictures of us, Hiba will sing for us. I don't know what I would do. Hamida would document the whole process. I think it would be really cool.
So
Listen, y'all can invite this old lady over here too, you know. So
But yeah, of course.
I won't
You-
act like a mommy.
Islam
Hiba, what's
just
that,
invite
honey?
us.
What's that, my dear?
Sorry, I said Islam invite us to your house.
Yes,
Can
easy.
you hear me, guys?
Yeah, I
Done.
can.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
done.
So yeah. Okay. um, what was the question?
I want to know what's next. What do you got planned that's coming
Oh
along?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than the other projects, the main thing is the EP that I'm working on that is funded
Mhm.
by ARC, Arab Fund for Art and Culture. I'm working on this EP and hopefully it's done by early June. Yeah, that's the main thing that I'm working on right now, and I'm trying to get a fund or something. I'm trying to talk to people about another project that is related to the EP, which is a visual EP with my sisters and also
Mm.
like Sudanese directors and also Egyptians, like videographers and visual artists. It's a huge project, and we're trying to see how we can make that happen. So if anybody got any links, please tell me. Please.
I'm literally going to send you a link that is exactly what you will need to do this.
Ooh, okay.
Look at this. Look at this. Okay. Hamida. Hamida. Getting all confused in my own self.
Well, like I said, I've been working on my feature film for the past 5 years. So, inshallah, I'm hoping inshallah, it will happen this year, the home premiere in Qatar, and in November. And then I hope to do the 2022 Film Festival circuit internationally. So, I'll be finally releasing this labor of love, my first feature film, which is very, very close to my heart. And now, after you've inspired me, I'm going to seriously start thinking about writing a book and planning our Zanzibar retreat as well, all of us ladies together.
Well, there you go. I'm in. Inshallah, indeed.
Inshallah.
So, last question. What advice would you give other young women? It doesn't necessarily have to be in your field, but just women in general. Hamida, let's start with you.
My advice would be to feel the fear and do it anyway.
Hmm.
And to always be connected to your roots, because if we don't know who we were and if we don't honor our ancestors, then how are we going to know who we're going to become? How are we going to look into the future in a balanced and dignified fashion? And I also would like to tell them to never forget to journey inwards,
Hmm.
to always dig within and find their calling in spirituality as well. Because with modern existence, it's very difficult sometimes to feel connected and feel grounded. And we have to make more of an effort to do so. So you have to always fight for the light at dark times.
Hey, those are some beautiful words to live by. Your mom would be very proud of you. I'm proud of you. Your community is proud of you. I think we all are. I'm proud of all you ladies. Hiba, what about you, my dear?
Let me prepare my mic. Yeah, for me, I would say, adding to what Hamida just said, take care of yourself. Any young girl who's watching this, take care of yourself and put yourself first. Take care of yourself. Just take care.
You can say that again. Adriani.
So I think I agree with that. I really need to take care of ourselves and mentally, physically. We need to have time for us, even if it's just in your bathroom, in your bedroom, it doesn't matter. But find the time that is just yours, that no one is watching, that is you with you, and you don't have to please anybody. You don't have to act. It's just yourself. And I think that's really important, to surround yourself with people that push you forward, that encourage you to try new things and positive influences in your life, because sometimes we just get used to having the same people and we don't even think, are they actually good for me now? They were good for me 10 years ago. What are they doing now in my life? So I've even experienced that, like some destructive relationship with friends that don't make sense anymore to have in your life. It's really hard to say goodbye, but sometimes it just doesn't make sense. So to be very careful with the people that you surround yourself with. There's a lot of people that are just bad. It's not on the movies. And when I found out that people are just, they just don't want you to do things with life, and I couldn't believe it, because I thought it was, like movie drama or telenovela drama, but no, it's actually real. So it's just like, choose well your friends and surround yourself with positive people.
Islam?
And as for me, my advice to young girls would be, of course, adding and re-emphasizing what you guys said, but to always just do whatever you want to do. Like, it doesn't matter what your parents say, it doesn't matter what your brother says, it doesn't matter what your grandpa says. Do it, because years from now, when you're like, in your 20s or 30s, you're going to be like, I wish I did not stop myself from doing what I want because of what people expected. Defy them, defy the society. It's the only way you will be able to get to where you are. But if you're in a place where you're allowed to flourish, then flourish and take care of yourself. Um, and also, you're not alone. Make sure you reach out to women, to girls everywhere who have walked a similar path like yours, because they'll be able to give you a lot of guidance. There's a lot of knowledge and wisdom with women everywhere. So if you ever feel like you need guidance, I'm sure all of us here would be very happy to guide any young girl. But also just make sure that you keep people close to you, good people close to you, because that's the only way you really get through when things get really hard. Always listen to what your mom says. I think like everyone else is not super relevant, but because I think mothers have a way of even though we might disagree with their morale or values or things that they try to reflect on us. But if you can and you should take their advice, because it's very genuine, it's coming from the heart. But if you have toxic parents, do not listen to them. Toxic parents are bad. They're bad. They're the worst. Anyways, I'm done. Thank you very much. Asante sana.
Oh, I just love y'all, man. The realness. Every word you ladies have spoken have been filled with wisdom. I say this often when I speak to young people that I learn a lot from you all. You know, everything you said is so genuine, and I appreciate you all so much. First of all, I would like to thank my son Jelani Akil Bowman for connecting me with you, lovely, amazing ladies. Thank you for your wisdom, your intellect, your beauty, your creativity, your zest, your boldness, your overall contributions. You ladies are definitely more than trailblazers. You are trendsetters. And so now you're part of this illustrious Women of Color Catalyst Circle that I've created. So let's keep uplifting and supporting one another in all that we do and accomplish. And live your truths, ladies. Live your truth and and share that with the world and be proud. You ladies are beyond beautiful. I love and appreciate you all. You are now my little sisters and my adopted children too. So thank you so much. May Allah continue to bless you all in all the work that you do. And please keep in touch with me beyond this, not just on social media. Remember, we're all going to go have fun together.
Yes.
Okay. And stay safe.
Counting on you for you're gonna be the party starter, Halima. I'm just waiting
Listen,
for.
I can do some stuff now. Okay. I'm just letting you know. So Jelani may have told you his mama's a little cuckoo, but that's okay. It keeps me moving. All right.
Thank you so much, Halima, for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
for this platform. Thank you for the work you're doing. I
You are.
appreciate you, and I'm glad I got to
Ladies.
know you and everyone. Like,
Indeed, my dear. Indeed, indeed.
It's a blessing. It's a blessing. I'm proud of you all, and it's an honor to be here. Thank you, guys. I'm so glad to meet you all. I think that this is the beautiful beginning to something special.
Alhamdulillah.
Filmmaker, Antarctica. So cool.
Oh, I love it. All right, ladies.
All right, guys.
Right.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.